Hello, I hope you guys have been doing well. As every single time I almost post, I always have to apologize for not being consistent. And I always say that I'm going to do better. So from this point forward, I'm not giving any kind of promises. I'm just going to post the content as it's made available to me and as I'm able to post it. But I promise to come with consistent content, quality contact to help you guys on your journey of opening up your home daycare or your daycare center. That is something that I can honestly commit to for you guys. So without further ado, we're going to hop right in. This video is all about my personal journey with opening up my daycare center. So this is my very first commercial property that I have opened up from start to bottom. So I'm going to share some of my experiences, give you guys a real timeline, and let you know exactly what my process consisted of. That way, if you're going through something similar, you can kind of compare the timelines or you can reach out to me to know how to get through that next step to get to your next step. So listen to this video. If you have any questions or feedback, please feel free to contact me at my daycare coach, or you can visit my website, which will all be linked below. All right, so here we go. So my daycare journey. So as you know, I already operate an in-home facility, and I have just transitioned over into opening a daycare facility in a commercial building. So here we go. I'm just going to read right from my notes because I wanted to be very organized with documenting my journey so that I can look back at it and use it as a reference and hopefully a blueprint for me opening up many more centers of Little Green Giants. So I found the property at the beginning of July. Keep in mind, right now we are in mid-October. So we have full month of July, full month of August, full month of September, and we are in the middle of October. And at the very end, I'll let you know exactly where I am now. So we're looking at July, August, September, October. We're looking at 4 months. 4 months, and I'm going to let you know everything that 4 months has consisted of. Found the property beginning of July. The good thing about this property is that it was already a school and a daycare center. So I was privy to the fact that zoning would not be an issue and that zoning would approve me using the daycare for that same exact use because it was already approved, because that's the zoning law for that particular area. And that's also something that is very crucial for you to understand when it comes down to zoning, because you can find the perfect building. However, if you don't get zoning verification that you're able to have that particular business there, you could do all the great work and not be able to get approved and or have to go through the conditional use or variance process, which can take many, many months and can also end with a denial. So you always want to make sure that before you sign anything, that you can make sure that that building is zoned properly for your particular use. And you can find all that information on your county or city's website. Okay. So after I realized that it was already a daycare and I knew the zoning was good, I did confirm it just to make sure, because sometimes things work in mysterious ways. So I did receive zoning verification that it was zoned properly and zoned for me to be able to operate a daycare center from there. So once I had that, I reached out to Maryland State Department of Education so I could get a pre-site visit. So a pre-site visit is when the state will come out and unofficially give you a yes or no if it looks as though the space you're interested in will be a great fit for a daycare. They will also give you feedback about certain equipment usages there, such as, if they think this is enough space, if you have an outdoor area, if it can be improved. And they will also kind of let you know some things that you may have to improve in order for you to get a license. So I had a pre-site visit. They came out, they inspected the interior of the daycare and the exterior. And my particular issue was outdoor space. Even though the building had been used as a daycare before, they used our front yard as an outdoor space and it was gated. However, that was many, many, many years ago before regulations have changed. And because my building is off of a main road, it was recommended or let's just say it was unofficially denied to use the front of my daycare space, use the front of the outdoor space as usable outdoor space because it was off of a major road. Basically, safety concerns. So although the previous daycare used the front part of the land as outdoor use, now with me coming in, the state said I would not be able to use it. So those are kind of one of those instances where if a daycare was there before you and they were approved for certain things, when you go through the process, it's going to be something different. So you always want to make sure that you're doing your due diligence and reaching out to these people to kind of get unofficial answers before you put all your eggs in one basket. And then you realize that there's a little hole in that basket that just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger until you're left empty. So it's very important to do your due diligence in terms of research about the building. All right. And it was also very important to know about parking spaces because you want to make sure that you have parking spaces available to your staff. Also for a parent who may be dropping in during the day, and also just to make sure that your driveway is movable from beginning to end. So when parents are doing pickup and drop off. So when parents are doing pickup and drop off. Sorry, it's the end of the night. I'm tired, but this is the only time that I have to get this video shot and posted pretty soon before I get ready to give you guys another video that's already in the works. So just bear with me. Okay. And actually, because the front space of the daycare was technically denied, there was a local park that was maybe about a 2-minute walk, which was across the street and a little bit further down. So I had asked to use the local park as our outdoor space because that's something that you can do. However, because we're off of a main road, crossing the street twice didn't really seem acceptable for the state. So they denied for me to use the local park space as well. So I had to become very creative in finding a neighboring outdoor space that was adjacent to the daycare so that the children would be able to use. And I found something. A few doors down, we have a local library, and luckily enough, they have their own fully gated outdoor space. So it was only a blessing for that. But you have to be creative in understanding what spaces you can use because the state may not tell you. So the state, even though they were well aware of where my building's location is, they didn't come in and say, hey, Sonny, we see that there's a library, 0.1 of a mile next to you. Did you think about using that space? They didn't make any suggestions. They simply told me what I could not have. So it's very important that you become familiar with your building, inside, outside, and the adjacent areas as well. Because had I not brought that to their attention, had I not proposed that idea, I would have not been able to go further with the daycare space because you are required to have outdoor space for the children, and we didn't have outdoor space. So that's something also to know as well. All right. And in my research for that, I was calling all of my neighbors. I was knocking on their doors just to see hey, is it possible if I can use your backyard? I know it may sound a little bit weird, but I was just trying to make sure that I could find someone that was a neighbor that had outdoor space that we could use just temporarily until we could figure out how we could build a fence on our property. But as you know, that would be a really big chunk of the budget for building a fence, especially with wood prices the way they are right now. So it just takes some ways for you to be creative. Okay. So once I had figured out that I wanted to use the library's outdoor space, I reached back out to MSDE, which is Maryland State Department of Education, their child care division. And I told them about the idea, submitted a safety plan, how I would be able to transport the children there, how I would be able to ensure the safety of the children while they are off the premises, how I'll be able to identify them, such as safety vests, things of that nature. And once I did that, I scheduled another pre-site visit where they came back out and told me I would be able to use that outdoor space. Okay. After that, I began my process of submitting the application because they basically told me that the building was good and I had outdoor space, so I was ready to go. So I submitted my application, which included the safety plan, as I mentioned, articles of organization, that's through your LLC, and or the business structure that you set up through the government, through the state. and notice of intent with my application. So that basically lets the state know that you are intending on opening up a daycare center, and you're going to let them know the children, the ages that you would like, the hours of operation, and all of your information for you starting that business. And this all happened towards the end of August. So literally the whole month of July and the whole month of August, it took me 2 months to figure out the actual outdoor space I was going to use, and getting the state to come out twice, and also getting all of that paperwork together to form the structure of my business. All right, here we go. Now that we have all the good stuff going unofficially, now it was time to sign the lease. I did not sign the lease before. Luckily, my landlord was very, very good with letting me come into the building, in and out, to get whatever I needed to get done. And he was very patient with me in terms of making sure that I would be approved before I signed that lease. Some landlords are not like that. In those kind of instances, I would recommend you putting in a clause that says, a clause or contingency that your lease will be fulfilled upon you being approved by the state. But there is no time limit on it. So even if you sign the lease and you'll have to pay rent, it could be 6 months before you realize that you're unable to open, or it could be 2 months, and then that's a good thing. So a lot of this stuff is kind of trial and error, blessings. A lot of this is just making sure that you can work with people. So it's very important to have good communication or open communication with your landlord getting through this process. Okay, so after I signed the lease, I applied for my EIN and all the correct information from my LLC, because I knew at that point that I was going to get the building and I was going to move forward regardless of it. So once you get your EIN number, that is also something that is part of the application that you have to submit. I had plans of like having, like a credit line, opening up a credit card, just to give me some cushion, because it's always better to use other people's money before you use your money that you may have saved. Once again, this is my personal preference. In my opinion, if you don't want to have a line of credit or a credit card and you just want to use your money, or you want to do grants, loans, that's your business, but I'm letting you know what my journey in detailed. Okay, after that, once I signed the lease and I had my business set up, I was so excited that I applied for my use and occupancy permit, which is something that you'll need in order to start with getting your fire inspections, your building inspections, and your health inspections. Now, this property does not have a kitchen, so I technically did not have to get a health inspection because I will not be serving or preparing. I did not have to get a health inspection because I will not be preparing food, but I will be serving packaged food. So with that being said, I didn't have to get a health inspection. So that just had to be checked off in the system through the permits. Okay, so this is where it got really, really tricky. The building was already sprinkled. The building already had a fire sprinkler system installed. Whew, because that could almost be anywhere from $10,000 to $50,000 depending on how big the space is and what kind of system you get installed. So I was fortunate enough to already walk into the building with it already being sprinkler. Okay, here we go. So in Baltimore, you have to apply for the use and occupancy permit, and then you have the fire inspector come out, and then you have the building inspector come out. So me thinking, okay, like I'll have the fire inspector come out, he'll come out, let me know what I need. So if you don't have a daycare right now, you have to have a fire monitoring system. So luckily, again, this was something that was already installed. However, there was a technical issue with it. So I had my fire inspection, but it failed because the fire monitoring box had a trouble light on it. So I then had to call a fire monitoring company to come and dissect the issue and then fix the issue. And the company that I went with, it took a few days for us to get the actual issue rectified. But as soon as it was done, I scheduled my building inspection for the next day. Building inspection came out and it was like, whoosh, 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 whoosh. Okay, fix this, you're good. Health inspection, I just had to have the health department check off on it. That was good. Even though everything was all good, this still took about a month's process because I wanted to make sure that I called around a few companies to get quotes on the fire monitoring system because everyone had such big drastic ranges of rates. And when you're working through a business, you want to make sure that you can get quotes from reliable companies so that you understand, okay, one company is charging $20, but another company is charging $100. So how much should it really cost? But the more quotes you get, the better accurate you can depict how much it should range. So if somebody's giving you a quote for $20, another company is giving you a quote for $30, another company is giving you a quote for $25, that's a very small range. But if you get the range of $20 for one company and $100 for one company, you're trying to figure out why is there such a big range and a gap? And you want to continue calling more companies to figure out, is this one $20 because they're horrible? Or is this one $100 because they're completely overpriced? You want to make sure you have a good understanding of that. And you have to do your due diligence when it comes down to researching and calling around to get proposals or bids for different companies or contractors to get the job done. Okay. So called around for estimates on fire inspections and the sprinkler inspection. Keep in mind, based on your local municipalities, they will let you know what the fire and sprinkler codes are. And some of them you have to get tested annually, biannually, and sometimes even quarterly. But once you have the company come out, they'll inform you of all that information. And it's also part of the, I want to say it's like NFPA or NRFPA. It's basically the fire codes, and it lets you know how often you need to get inspections for your equipment. Okay, here we are, September. So the week of September 11th, I finally got a company to come out to start the process of the fire monitoring. And that was actually September 20th. Then I had the fire sprinkler system inspection that same exact day. So I had two separate companies on the property at the same time completing a job. And I'm also operating my other in-home facility daycare. So it's very important to make sure that when I schedule these appointments, that they're on time. And from personal experience as a woman in business, it's very important that you stand your ground because a lot of these businesses are operated by men. And once again, sometimes I kind of feel that men will take advantage of a woman because it's just like, okay, I'll be there at 10 o'clock. And then here we are at 10:15, 10:20. My time is just as valuable as yours, and my time is my money. So I would really hate for you to waste my time because I'm losing money or I'm wasting my time. And neither one of those are free. So it's very important that when you start operating your business, you let people know 10 o'clock. And if they're not there, grace period, 10, 15 minutes, you can either cancel or reschedule. Or you can either just take it as far as if they're not going to be punctual, then why would I want to do business with you if you can't even be punctual? Because what happens if I need to reach out to you again? Are you going to answer the phone? Are you going to come back to fix the job? Am I going to be able to rely on you if I have any questions about monitoring systems or anything like that? So you just want to make sure that you have done your due diligence in reading reviews and also speaking with the person who's going to come to actually do the job just to make sure it's a good fit for you. Okay. So once I had the fire monitoring system installed and it was up and running, and I had the fire sprinkler inspection, everything was good from that point. And I think I mentioned that I had the fire inspection, sprinkler inspection, building inspection, and I didn't need the health inspection. But once all of those were done, I submitted all the information online. Everyone checked off their stuff in the permitting system, and I received my use and occupancy permit that same day. So that is something that you need in order to continue on with your application. So as soon as I received my use and occupancy permit, I sent it to my licensing specialist, and I continued with receiving all of the documents until my application was complete. Okay, so after I got my use and occupancy permit, that's when I bought like my first piece of furniture. That's when I started designing the daycare, because in my mind, I always sometimes doubt myself, and I'm like, well, if this doesn't happen, then I won't do this. But as soon as I got that permit, I hit the ground running. I ordered all of my cubbies, I ordered my cribs, I ordered all the larger pieces of equipment so that we can get that daycare furnished. Okay. And then also, which was pretty cool, I met with my friend And she gave me the bright idea to find qualified staff to partnership with local universities and schools for the children who are doing internships or who are looking for work to graduate, and that it would be a good fit to have them work at the daycare in exchange for their credits and things of that nature. After that, we had a few weeks. Now we're in a month later. Now we're at the beginning of October. And I thought I pretty much set up the daycare where that it was almost ready. I reached out to my licensing specialist so that she can come out and do my initial inspection. Unfortunately, my licensing specialist knows me pretty well. And when she came to the daycare, she just knew that it just wasn't ready. Like, it just wasn't ready. Like, I had all of my basic necessities, but it just wasn't really ready the Little Green Giants way. So once she finished her inspection, she let me know everything that I would need to do. And now I have to reach back out to her with everything being done. And she'll come out again. And this time she will check the floors, make sure everything is good that she told me that I would need to add to the daycare. And then I'll be able to receive my license. So today is Saturday, October 14th, and I had my soft opening where the daycare is actually ready to operate as of tomorrow if I had my license. So this week should be the week where my licensing specialist is coming back out to check over the daycare and give me my license. Just like a food for thought, as I knew that I was actually really, really close to completing the daycare in terms of the actual design and setup, I created my website. In addition to that, I started pre-enrollment forms for families who were highly interested in Little Green Giants. So that way, once I get my license and I have my proper staff, that I can let those parents know I have an exact date of when I'm going to open. And that way there is no lag in time from actually receiving my license and being able to have children start. Because time is money. And if you have your license and you're paying rent or, you're paying bills, you're paying for everything that goes into running the business and operating the business, but you aren't accepting enrollment, which means you're not receiving tuition. So you want to make sure that as soon as you get your license to operate, that you can open up those doors, because all the money that you're spending out will not come back in until you start receiving tuition from your families. And so that was pretty much how my journey went. So we had July, August, September, October. So in 4 months, I was able to open up my daycare, going back and forth with the city to make sure it would be fit for daycare, to make sure that I would have everything as per the Maryland Comar regulations, and having the soft opening to let the parents of the community and the neighborhood know that Little Green Giants is going to be here, for them to see the space and to see if we may be a good fit, and also gives the opportunity for families to be able to meet me, meet some of the staff, and kind of just get a feel for the new location, because a lot of parents are familiar with our old location, and with us transitioning to a larger facility and transitioning from going to an in-home facility to a center, you just want to make sure that you can still form that bond with the families as you had in your smaller setting. So our soft opening went amazing. Everyone had a really, really great time. I got to meet some beautiful faces, and I am looking forward to continuing to expand and being able to still provide the same level and quality of service in my smaller environment, in a larger scale. So I will keep you guys posted in my next video. You will definitely not want to miss that. All right. Thanks for tuning in. Bye-bye, guys.